Okay, we're going over the last of the sources, which are velocity sources. This is going to be short and simple, super easy. So I have some pads set up with some notes, and those notes are outputting different velocity values. I have velocity level 1, 42, 85, and 127. So our velocity level is basically like a CC value output. So I still have this patched into our swing. So a value of 1 is going to be all the way at the bottom. Value of 127 is going to be all the way at the top. Of course, based on the range of our minimum and maximum values in the RT parameters, which is what this dynamic MIDI is plugged into. We can set the range of which velocity notes are basically, or I should say levels, are which levels trigger a response from this controller. So anything below 64 is now not going to do anything. So you can see it's on 100, even though I'm clicking these two pads. Of course, these that are above 64 will give us different values, but they won't just give us different values, but this also scales kind of like the range. So I think when I was going over CC01, I probably gave the best example of this, but basically, you know, from 64 to 127 is now covering our full range of 0 to 100. So if I have a velocity level of 64, then that outputs 0, and then 127 outputs 100. And so if I had something like halfway in between, which would be 96, because that's 64 plus 32, because, 128 is our full range. 96 will be 50, so on and so forth. Let's move on to the actions. So momentary switch, you'd almost think that note on would be like having the switch on and then letting it go would be having the switch off, but it actually doesn't behave like that. If you have it on, there's no such thing as like a velocity off. Every time you send a MIDI note, you get note on and note off information, which works out conveniently for the momentary switch. But with velocity, there's no off. So it just relies on the level. And pretty much the top parameter becomes pretty important because that's what decides when the switch is on. Anything at or above whatever the top value is at is going to be switch on. Anything below is going to be switch off. Unless, of course, our bottom... well, let's check. Let's see if the bottom actually ignores... let's see if it actually ignores the bottom. No. So the bottom still counts as our threshold for switch off, but actually really anything below 127 counts as our switch off. So 127 is our switch on, and then if it's switch off or below 127, we're automatically outputting a value of whatever the minimum is at. Let's reset this to toggle. Toggle, of course, is going to switch back and forth between minimum and maximum values as long as we're at or above the top value. So every other press, it's going to give me a difference between that. Anything below doesn't do anything. Again, it has to be at or above. In fact, let me just set that a little bit lower just to double check. Yep, at or above. Excellent. Cool. Now we get to move on to the next parameter, which is velocity inside zone. So that deals with the zone of the module, which I have already zoned down below C4, and these are all above C4. So you see the top, I have B3 here. So anything that's outside of the zone will be ignored. So these are all outside of the zone for the module, so they're all going to be ignored. Luckily, our next parameter is note outside zone. So now all of these will function as expected, unless we're on toggle. Let's put it on continuous. So, cool. Next one up is white velocities. So basically only it only reacts to white keys. So it'll react to this one when it's already at 0. It won't react to C sharp, but it will react to D4, won't react to D sharp. Next one is white velocities inside zone. Naturally, we have to be inside the zone, so none of these will do anything. White outside zone. Now all of these are enabled. Of course, you can still set the range you can like, again, scale the output just like before with the first example. And then we have the same parameters just for the black keys. Black velocity select range, inside zone select range, outside zone select range. Cool. I don't think it's necessary for me to walk through all those examples since it's just redundant at this point. But now we've made it through every single dynamic MIDI source, which is pretty crazy. Definitely one of the most complicated parts of Karma. And if you understand all of it at this point, then you're pretty much a Karma master. Next time we're going to go over all of the destinations. Probably not in one video, but I'll split it up. And thank you. Hopefully this was informative. Take care.